A right-wing terrorist drove a van into a group of Muslims near a North London mosque. Disgusting, tragic, reprehensible. But wait, I thought the reasonable way to respond to terror attacks was just to unite and love everybody. Why is everyone so outraged? I mean, surely we should just tweet pray for hashtags, light candles, arrange pop concerts, and sing Don't Look Back in Anger. Maybe our main concern should be white people being stereotyped and harassed. Maybe we shouldn't antagonize violent right-wingers because they might get offended and carry out more attacks. Maybe we just aren't giving violent right-wingers enough roles in movies. Maybe violent right-wingers just haven't been hugged enough. Surely we should just carry on exactly as before. I mean, that's what happens after every other terror attack, so why change now? But seriously, Islamic terrorists have killed 1,263 people in the last 23 days alone. To equate the sporadic threat of right-wing terror with the mechanized, industrial level of bloodshed carried out in the name of Islam is intellectually dishonest and crass. Every death is a tragedy. Every attack is an outrage, but for the left to be selectively outraged about only this, while making excuses every time there's an Islamic massacre, is rampant hypocrisy. In just the time people were reacting to this, there were 2 more attempted Islamic terror attacks in London and Paris. Violent extremism of any kind is unacceptable, but the threat posed by right-wing terror and Islamic terror are clearly not comparable.
My thoughts are with those in Manchester and the UK tonight, and I'm disgusted and unsurprised at Trump supporters exploiting this tragedy.
So he's angry about people exploiting terror attacks for political gain. Wonder what he said about this one.
This is a terrorist attack. The perpetrator is a white terrorist. We need to say these things out loud as much as possible.
Right, so not all Muslims are responsible for terrorism, and to even hint there's a connection between Islam and violence is racist, but the first thing you do after an attack by a white guy is to point out the colour of his skin to collectively demonise white people.
Mainstream media call it what it is. The Finsbury Park attack was terrorism by a terrorist. Don't downplay the incident because he's white.
Literally no mainstream media outlet is calling this anything other than a terror attack, you utter moron. After this attack, the Independent newspaper actually called the police on Tommy Robinson. More leftists are calling for Tommy Robinson to be arrested than have ever called for actual terrorists to be deported. Let that sink in. J.K. Rowling said the terrorist was radicalised by Katie Hopkins. The Assistant Secretary of the Muslim Council compared Douglas Murray, a conservative writer who warns about the dangers of mass immigration, to Anjem Choudhury, an open supporter of terrorism and a cheerleader for ISIS. No, not comparable. Actual hate preachers directly call for violence. We're trying to stop violence. Pretty big difference there.
When Islamist terrorists attack, we rightly seek out hate preachers who spur them on. We must do the same to those who peddle Islamophobia.
Oh, you mean hate preachers like Anjem Choudhury, who was given free rein and a platform on television for years to celebrate terror attacks. Hate preachers like Abu Qatada, who was allowed to radicalise terrorists in Britain for over 10 years before being deported. Hate preachers like Abu Hamza, who supported terror attacks, Osama bin Laden, and radicalised known terrorists at the Finsbury Park Mosque for 5 years before he was arrested. Yeah, we really seek out hate preachers, don't we? We really seek out the thousands of known jihadists who roam our streets. No, we don't. We don't do any of that, largely because the left has made it politically incorrect to do so. The same people who said nothing should change after endless terror attacks are now calling for all kinds of new laws. The same people who refuse to say Islamist terror jump at the chance to say Islamophobic terror. The same people who rail against surveillance of mosques are now calling for surveillance and imprisonment of journalists and commentators. The same people who say keep calm and carry on are now saying be afraid. No. You don't have the moral high ground. Your insistence that terrorism be ignored has fanned the flames of extremism on both sides. The vacuum left by the refusal to implement actual, rational, legal solutions and genuine border security has been filled by desperate extremists. That's on you. It's not on me. It's not on Tommy Robinson. It's not on Katie Hopkins. It's on you. And who was the first on the scene to exploit the terror attack within hours? Jeremy Corbyn. You know, that's odd because I don't recall him visiting the scene of the London Bridge attack, Westminster, or Manchester looking sad. Diane Abbott labelled this a terror attack within hours. The Manchester attack that killed and maimed little kids, just an incident. Political violence of all stripes, be it right-wing, left-wing or Islamic, should be denounced. The right disavows its violent extremists. The only institutionalised groups that have legitimised violence in pursuit of political goals are the left and Islamists. And until that changes, you're not in any position to lecture us about violent extremism.